Okay, so we're going to first find the equation of a tangent line to this graph at a specific point. So the equation of this graph is f of x is equal to 2 sine of x plus the cosine of 2x. And we're going to find the equation of this tangent line at the point pi comma 1. After that, we're going to look for where all the horizontal tangent lines are in the interval from 0 to 2 pi. So first, to find the equation of a tangent line, let's remember that it's just going to be a linear equation. And I just like to keep it simple and consistent with, how I teach my students, from their algebra days. So I like to use slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. It's common in textbooks and in law courses, teachers will use, point slope form. It doesn't matter. I just like to use this because it's more intuitive, I think, for me. Okay, so we want to find this sort of equation. That means we need to find the slope and the y-intercept. Now let's recall the slope of a tangent line in this case is just going to be the derivative at that point. So we just need to find what the value of the derivative is at that point. Put that value in here. Then to find the value of the y-intercept, you're just going to put the pi in for x and the 1 in for y and solve for b. So to find the slope, we need to find the derivative of our function. So that'll be f prime of x will be equal to the derivative of 2 sine of x, which is just 2 times the cosine of x, plus the derivative of cosine of 2x. This will be a chain rule. The inside function is 2x, the outside function is cosine. It's a cosine function, so it'll be plus the derivative of the cosine function, which will be negative sine of 2x. The derivative of 2x is just 2, so that whole thing times 2. So let's clean this up. So we'll have f prime of x will be equal to 2 times the cosine of x minus 2 times the sine of 2x. That's our derivative equation. Now to find a specific value of a slope at a point, we plug in whatever the x value is at the point. So we find the value of f prime of pi, because that's what the x value is, f prime of pi. We want to find the slope over here. So we're going to have f prime of pi will be equal to 2 times the cosine of pi minus 2 times the sine of 2 pi. So f prime of pi will be equal to 2 times the cosine of pi. You should know that the cosine of pi is just -1. So we'll have 2 times -1 minus 2 times the sine of 2 pi. The sine of 2 pi is just 0, so we're just going to have 0 there. So minus 2 times 0. And so the value of the slope there will just be -2. Now that -2, we put it into our equation here. So far we'll have that y is equal to -2x plus b. So we need to find the value of our y-intercept b. For that, we just plug in the value of x and y at that, at that point. So we are going to, then have the point pi comma 1. And so our equation will look like this. Y is equal to -2 pi plus b. So we solve for b. So we get that b will be equal to 1 plus 2 pi. So b is equal to 1 plus 2 pi. And then so we have our equation for our tangent line, which will be y is equal to -2x plus 1 plus 2 pi. All right, now the next thing this problem is asking for is to find the values of the x coordinates of the points where the graph has horizontal tangents. So horizontal tangents would be like over here, another one over here, another one over here, and another one over here, because we're only looking at the interval from 0 to 2 pi, so we don't have to go anywhere past this. So it looks like we're gonna have 4 points that we have to find. So let's recognize, the concept here. At each of these points, since we have horizontal tangents, that means the derivative at those points will be equal to 0. So essentially, you want to solve the equation f prime of x is equal to 0. And we want to find what x values satisfy this. So we have an equation for our derivative, which is right here. So we can go ahead and then write this as 0 being equal to 2 times the cosine of x minus 2 times the sine of 2x. So we go ahead, let's add a 2 sine of 2x to both sides. So we'll have 2 times the sine of 2x is equal to 2 times the cosine of x. You're going to divide both sides by 2, because then now cancel out those. And we'll be left then with the sine of 2x is equal to the cosine of x. Now, where do we go from here? Now, one way to always, there's always a possibility that you can brute force it. Kind of just guess and check and what values of x will make this true, especially if you have your unit circle memorized pretty well. However, there's actually a helpful formula that you may have seen, briefly in pre-cal, known as the angle formula. The double angle formula essentially is going to be represented as either the sine of 2x or sine of 2 or cosine of 2x. The cosine, either sine of 2x or the cosine of 2x. In this case, we want to use the sine one. So we're going to use the sine of 2x. It says the sine of 2x will be equal to 2 times the sine of x times the cosine of x. Now, don't worry, you don't have to have this memorized. This will never pop up on an AP exam, and unless the professor's super strict on and everything off the top of your head, you won't have to memorize this. If you ever do have to use this, it'll be situations like this where you're working on problems and you can use your notes and formula sheets and whatnot. Anyways, so the way we're going to use this is that instead of this being the sine of 2x, we're going to make it 2 times the sine of x times the cosine of x. So 2 times the sine of x times the cosine of x is equal to the cosine of x. And the reason we do that is because you can divide both sides by the cosine of x, and then that will cancel those terms out. And what we'll have is that we'll have left as our equation being 2 times the sine of x being equal to just 1. And reducing this, we're just left with solving the sine of x being equal to 1/2. Because you just divide both sides by 2. Now, you should know the answers or solutions to this, especially if you're in calculus. They're going to be on your unit circle. So there'll be the x values of 1/6 pi and 5/6 pi. Make sure you definitely know that. You definitely need to have your unit circle memorized. So sine of x is 1/2 at pi over 6 and 5 pi over 6. Now, that essentially probably looks like it takes care of these 2 points, but that'll be this one right here. We still need 2 other ones. We still need this one and this one. So it's how do we figure those ones out? Well, let me zoom out a little bit so you can see the whole thing. Now, here you want to think a little bit about what we were doing when we were solving this. In this step, we divided by the cosine of x. So another solution to this would be if cosine of x is equal to 0, because anything times 0 is just 0. So if cosine of x is 0, this equation will be true. So let's go ahead. Let's look at this solution, the cosine of x being equal to 0. Let me actually do this. And the cosine of x is equal to 0 in this interval. Again, you should know these points, that they will be x is equal to pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2 at the top and the bottom of the unit circle. So those will be your two other solutions. And since you have a picture, you can kind of see that's kind of where it is. Pi over 2 and then 3 pi over 2. All right, so there you go. Those are our answers.